Hi, everybody. Hi, it's Daniel Karapkin. Allow me to share with you some words of Torah for Parshas Naso. The events of this past week, well, not so good. They've been quite troubling, actually. First, a great religious leader, Rabbi Norman Lamb Zatzal, passed away. He represented wisdom, dignity, grace, and really the personification of what a Ben Torah who is part of this world should strive to be. In the meantime, in what might even be interpreted as a response to the loss of that great dignity of the human condition, the rest of the world descended even further into chaos and anarchy with the senseless murder of a non-violent black man, George Floyd. The world is justifiably angry at this grave injustice, this act of evil perpetrated by a dirty cop, a person whose job it was to serve and protect his fellow human being, and who instead did just the opposite. There's a lot to discuss. Systemic racism, political anarchy by people who are trying to exploit the situation, acts of vandalism even against synagogues, where Jews have once again been targeted in cities like Los Angeles for apparently no reason, and there's so much more. But I want to draw your attention to something, or rather to someone, who may be difficult to look at right now, and that is the former cop who killed George Floyd. His name is Derek Chauvin, and he's the policeman who pressed his knee into Floyd's neck for nearly 9 minutes until he died. Why do I want you to look at him? Because the world is portraying him as evil personified. He's Hitler, he's Stalin, he's Pol Pot. He's the worst human being alive in the world today. And for all I know, that could very well be. I don't know him, but neither do you. Why he came into our view and mind is something that deserves consideration, at least as much as why George Floyd came into our lives. In Parshas Naso, two mitzvahs are juxtaposed that seemingly have nothing to do with each other. First, we are presented with the protocols of the Sota, a woman who is accused of infidelity, and the service, the ritual that's performed in the temple to show her degradation. It is used as a means of uprooting evil from the Jewish community. And then the very next mitzvah is the mitzvah of the Nazir, someone who chooses a temporary period of asceticism in order to elevate themselves spiritually. The Talmud notes the juxtaposition of two completely different mitzvot and asks, why are they connected? And the Talmud answers, Lomar lecha, this is to teach you that any person who sees a sota in her degradation should immediately become a Nazarite, should abstain from wine. Wine can be a tool for acts of lewdness, and therefore go into the completely opposite direction. Rabbi Yaakov Yosef HaKohen, the key disciple of the Baal Shem Tov, said in the 18th century that whenever we are witness to anything in life, we should view what we are witness to as a divine message. Now that's not only true, he said, when we see good people and good things, but even when we see bad people and bad things, we're supposed to view this as a message coming directly to me from heaven, that I'm supposed to learn something from it. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, Ezehu chacham halomed mikol adam. Who is wise? He who learns from every human being. Not just good people, not just wise and smart people, but also from bad people. I'm supposed to learn from the evil. I'm supposed to learn what not to do, what not to be. It's a message. If I see a sota in my view, in my sights, then that's a divine message to me. What am I supposed to learn from it? It's a message to me that if God wanted me to see it, it means there's something in me that is akin to that sota that I'm supposed to uproot within myself. There's something within me that needs rectification. King David used to say in the Psalms, Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid, I place God in front of me constantly. And another way of interpreting the word lenegdi is not just I place God in front of me constantly, but lenegdi can also be translated as I place God in front of me when there's contrariness, which means even if I'm experiencing something that is contrary and wrong, such as witnessing evil, I'm supposed to interpret that experience as coming from God. This past week, the world was given a glimpse of true evil. But if we don't view Derek Chauvin as a fellow human being, if we instead portray him in our minds not as a person, but rather as evil personified, then the lesson that we're supposed to take from his evil act will be lost, because we will lose all connection to that mirror that is being held up to our faces. Why was this message, why did this event take place during a pandemic, during our isolation? I have no idea what drove this man to commit this heinous deed. But I do know that during these past few months, people's nerves have been frayed and tempers have flared at the slightest provocation. I am sure you've seen it, whether you've been in the supermarket and someone's cart knocked up against someone else's cart, or you were just walking down the street where you got a mean glare from someone who felt you were walking too close and weren't properly socially distancing. Karen and I were walking down our own street, and one of our neighbors, a young mom and dad, were playing ball with their small son on their front yard. The child dropped the ball as we were walking by, and it started rolling in our direction. I wasn't going to even touch the ball, but I instinctively thought just to block it with my foot so that it wouldn't roll into the street. The mother said, "Please don't touch the ball." Apparently, I didn't react quickly enough in that millisecond, so instantly afterwards she screamed hysterically, as if I was about to murder her child, "Don't touch the ball." And of course, I walked away as quickly as I could, and I let it roll wherever it was going to roll. This fellow Chauvin is no angel, but maybe the mirror was held to our faces to remind us that we're not angels either. Would any of us ever think of putting a knee on a person's neck and watch the life slowly sap out of them? God forbid, perish the thought. It's so contrary to anything that we would even think in the remotest thoughts that we could possibly have of malice against another person. But have we been tense over the past few months? Have our passions flared, perhaps against our neighbors? Even perhaps our fellow religionists who haven't abided by the proper social distancing, or who may have acted recklessly in some other regard? Do we wish sometimes that we could really let our tempers loose, to scream at the top of our lungs at someone else who's doing something foolish or harmful? Of course. And that's the very reason, perhaps, why this mirror was being held up to our faces specifically now. The mirror is showing us that during a pandemic, sometimes the worst in humanity can emerge. And so we all need to become Nazarites after having witnessed the Sota. We should ponder that we too may harbor prejudices that are based on race, ethnicity, or religion. Many in our community, let's be honest, still harbor prejudices against Arabs, Muslims, blacks, Asians, you name it, or non-Jews in general. And because those prejudices exist, we're liable to fly off the handle, especially at times of greater tension and anxiety. And just like the Nazir, we're meant to go in the opposite direction and take measures to ensure that we can never allow ourselves to reach the boiling point of hatred and malice toward the other. Let's also remember that despite the ugliness that we've seen on the media lately, there have been beautiful points of light. We've seen volunteers in major urban areas stepping forward to clean up the debris and the broken glass of all the mayhem perpetrated by vandals and anarchists. We've seen people walking arm in arm, of all stripes and colors, protesting peacefully for peace and unity among the family of mankind. That's also a mirror that is being held up to us. Let's use those positive images to find the greatness within ourselves, to improve ourselves in our own communities. Let's uproot the prejudices from within and be part of the solution and the light that must prevail, if not today, then tomorrow. The key to bringing redemption is through unifying humanity and eradicating the evil within all of us. We can be a part of that redemptive process. May we merit to see the day when all evil is removed from the face of the earth. May we see it b'mehera b'yameinu, amen. And I wish you a beautiful Shabbos, a beautiful week, and let's continue to see the light shining through the clouds. Shabbat shalom, everyone.